Very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Before we get into the video, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'm sitting at just over 200 subscribers away from the 5,000 mark. So a terrific job everybody's doing by subscribing, and I really do appreciate the support that you've given me. At a time that is typically quite quiet here on the channel, it has been an unprecedented amount of views each and every day, as well as a continued rise in the subscriptions. So I must be doing something right. I must be delivering something that is keeping people's interest, and I greatly appreciate that. And like I say, I'm just over 200 away from the 5k mark. So if you haven't already done so, share with your friends and family. Get them to subscribe if you're interested in weather and a little bit more background with regards to why the weather does what it does, as opposed to just saying it's going to rain or it's going to be sunny. You can have a barbecue this weekend or you can't. I try to show you the bigger, broader picture in the amazing world of weather and meteorology. But an epic 30-minute two-parter on the 48th edition of the Global Weather Report yesterday. If you haven't already done so, do check that out. It is on the playlist under Global Weather Report. A lot of things was covered in yesterday's video with regards to the UK record versus the CET. Unusually cool June across much of the United States, and so much more was in that video, or the two videos in fact, yesterday. So if you haven't already done so, do check that out. Let me know what you think in the comment section below with regards to some of the stuff that was discussed, some of the controversial chat with regards to what's going on now versus, potentially what has happened in the past, and trying to show you a little bit of unbiased, or as much as possible anyway, unbiased opinion. And it is really just my opinion. I'm not an expert either with climate or indeed meteorology for that matter. I don't have any PhD in atmospheric physics or anything like that. But I basically try to show you what I think, what I see, what I think is going to happen and whatnot. This is the 2 meter temperature anomalies of weatherbell.com for July so far. Of course, we're only 72 hours in, or not even 72 hours in, of course. And you can see here below average across the UK and indeed Ireland, France, Low Countries, parts of Germany, parts of Scandinavia, Italy, the Balkan region, parts of Turkey, where we've seen a big increase in temperature lately. It is a cold start to July, and a very different pattern to what was seen at the beginning of June. Now, we do know that it started off chilly, especially in the East Coast during the first week of June. And then, of course, we started to see the upper height field change. We've seen the position of that high pressure shift that allowed more heat and humidity. And of course, it eventually became a very warm June indeed. So we know that it's going to warm up as the month progresses, but so far so good with regards to the forecast. June, I did score myself an 8 out of 10. You can argue the point whether you think that is merits an 8 out of 10 with regards to the forecast success rate. And July is playing out very nicely as expected also. This is the CFSV2 weeklies, and you can see here the upcoming 7 days, which takes us to the 9th of July, and we are firmly underneath that trough, both in the upper levels as well as at the surface. We're going to continue to keep things rather fresh over the next several days here. Current temperatures, these were the maximums yesterday. Nothing to write home about for early July, that's for sure. Only 14 in the north, 20, 21 Celsius in the south. This is the current temperatures as of 10 past 4 in the afternoon. You can see here only 13, 14 in the north. Again, upper teens to around 20 further south. Looking at Europe as a whole, and you can see here that we do have quite the north-south contrast in temperature, especially across Spain versus northern UK, where we've got temperatures close to 40 once again in south-central portions of Spain. And you can see here plenty of heat down across Greece, Turkey, up into the Balkan region, and a little bit fresher up across Scandinavia, as you can see here. But certainly as we play through the next couple of weeks here, folks, certainly the ECMWF has the continuation of this negative across the UK, Ireland, and that is going to suppress the overall temperature profile. Now, we do have an opportunity for some true heat and humidity lift north, with areas of low pressure then kind of positioned to the west of the UK, and of course with plenty of heat across northwest Africa, Iberia. We will see that lift north towards the end of the week, or it looks likely that will be the case. We'll look at that in just a second here, but you can see here as we play through this upper air pattern anomaly chart here, you can see here as we skip forward, what takes place is you notice high pressure begins to kind of swallow up and shrink that negative and position just to the west of the UK. Now, that westward position is critical because that then opens the door to some southerly winds. Heat and humidity will come back into the pattern again, and it looks as if it may come as early as the end of this upcoming work week. But you notice here that that negative is still around, according to the ECMWF, towards the middle portion of the month, and then it starts to kind of retreat a little bit back northwards up towards the Norwegian Sea, as you can see here. And this is a very interesting pattern. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly we can see this shifting around here. There seems to be a lot of models, a lot of people suggesting that we're going to be back into high pressure dominated pattern as we press towards the middle portion of the month. I'm not entirely convinced of that actually, but look at this here. So this is the precipitation anomalies for the upcoming 7-day period, and we've got plenty of wetter than average conditions across the UK. You notice here that the anomaly actually increases in terms of rainfall as we push into week 2, especially across western and northern areas of both the UK as well as Ireland. Also drier somewhat to the south and southeast of the British Isles here. But it's as we press through the rest of the month, it looks as if we maintain, according to the ECMWF weeklies, a slightly wetter than average period overall, which is quite interesting here. So it looks as if somewhat fresher and wetter than average conditions will persist through at least the middle portion of the month. That goes very nicely with my overall ideas for the month of July. 2 meter temperature anomalies for the upcoming 7 days. Looks as if we have got below average, especially across Wales, Northern England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland. Below average upcoming 7-day period here. It looks as if we've got slightly warmer than average across the southeast and East Anglia, and that will be because we have got that low to the west of the UK by the looks of it towards the end of this upcoming work week. And you notice as we play through the loop here, it kind of struggles to warm up. It struggles to go above average across particularly the northern half of the British Isles. So this is the period 9th through the 16th. So this is day 7 through 14. So week 2, and notice here that we still have slightly below average across the northern half of the UK. Now notice the warmth surrounding the UK. That is a reflection of those warmer than average sea surface temperatures, warming the air mass above up. But notice here, inland areas of the UK is not above average according to the ECMWF, and this takes out to the middle portion of the month. And as we play through the loop, still below average into the second half of the month. So it looks as if the ECMWF, at least, is trying to keep Scotland below average, even Northern Ireland possibly below average through most of July, which is very interesting. Warmer a little bit more further south. Spain, Portugal, France, most of the continent looks as if it's below average, as you can see, or above average, sorry, as you can see here. So isn't that interesting? Looking at the GFS, this is off weathercharts.com, and you can see here that we've got that northerly flow as discussed at the end of last week here in the channel. We're keeping an eye on this little feature here way up to the north. But what we've got is essentially some unstable atmosphere across most of the UK and Ireland at the moment here. So we've got outbreaks of rain, cloudy conditions, fresh, cool conditions for the early portion of July, of course. Then there's this little kink in the isobars That is the model trying to see a developing area of low pressure that kind of rides that northerly flow towards the UK here. So certainly this is keeping things rather fresh as we progress through the course of this week. There's that feature developing into an area of low pressure. How far south that gets remains to be seen. Certainly across Iberia and the southwest of Europe, we've got plenty of heat and humidity to speak about. But we've got this kind of shut door at the moment here. Notice here that we aren't able to tap anything from the south. But it's once that feature heads south, develops, then we start to change the wind direction from north to south. And therefore we warm things up in quite a decent way here. So we'll play through this loop. You can see here, there's an area of low pressure that kind of skirts not that far to the southeast of the British Isles here. We need to keep an eye on that feature. Actually, it does actually try to develop some sort of a low here. Think of this as the base of the trough, and then as that feature drops south, then we'll keep an eye on the isobars here starting to turn. Now notice here that we develop an area of low pressure. As that feature looks as if it tries to kind of fade out, it kind of fills as it drops south. But we've got this new low develops over the Atlantic here. And what that's going to do is it's going to edge towards the UK. And as it does so, it brings unsettled, windy, wet conditions, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and the northern half of the British Isles. But all the while, we've got another feature that develops to the south of this feature here. So that trough is digging further and further south. And that's what I showed you a couple of days ago in the video here. The upper level chart shows that trough digging further and further south over the Atlantic, of course. And what that is going to do is, not only is it going to increase the instability within the atmosphere across western and northern areas, but it's going to then provide an open door to some of this heat over Iberia to start lifting north. And it looks as if we are going to see that as we push towards the end of the week here. So this is, of course, Friday, and we've got these two areas of low pressure kind of dumbbelling around each other. But notice the position is to the west of the UK, therefore we open the door to something a lot warmer coming up from the south here. Is that a change to hotter conditions overall? Not necessarily, because once that pushes through, then we shut the door to that heat and humidity source from the south, and we're back in this regime. But it will probably be somewhat of a warmer setup as we press towards the middle portion of the month here. We're going to get these kind of surges, and that's what the forecast said. Some waves of warm, humid air coming up from a warm source into particularly the southeastern half of the UK. Looks as if it's always going to be cooler and more unsettled the further north and west you go over the British Isles here. But you can see here there's a 997 area of low pressure. This is Tuesday of next week, so this is a long way out, folks. I know that, but it looks as if that trough is going to try and linger. Then we've got another feature that moves towards the southern half of the UK and Ireland here. Another potential surge of warmth coming up from the south with that position, with that that area of low pressure overall. But you notice here that even as we press towards the middle portion of the month, we're not in a big blocking area of high pressure once again. It's a lot more fluid. It's a lot more up and down in terms of heat, humidity, fresher conditions trying to move in here. It's a lot more of a changeable pattern as opposed to what we've seen during the second half of May and the early portion of June here. Let's have a final look at the 850s and see what the GFS is showing here. So we'll go back to the current setup. There's that fresh air coming down from the north with that northerly airflow. That warmth and humidity is kind of held at bay over Iberia, as you can see here. Then it's as that area of low pressure starts to wind up to the west of the UK, there's that surge of warm air, 15 Celsius at 5,000 feet. So that is going to certainly see the temperatures rise. How warm could we get? Possibly into the low 30s, by the way, with this surge of warmth coming up from the south here. Then, as I say, it shuts the door. We'll see that fresh air coming in off the Atlantic. And then there's always that threat. There's always that possibility of seeing that heat from Iberia lifting north. And we could get some really warm air, by the way, over Spain and Portugal in the next couple of weeks, by the way. It wouldn't surprise me if we get 45, 46 Celsius at some point over Spain in the next couple of weeks here. But remember, there has been more in the way of rainfall, which may slightly temper the temperatures and, the possibility of how high that ceiling can go with regards to temperature. But as per usual, I've run out of time. Please like, share, and indeed subscribe. And I'll see you again hopefully tomorrow with more. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye.